want to show you something else that's a change on this class of ship that I think is really great. Oh my gosh, what's going on? Hi.
It is Sunday, September 21st, 2025, and on this week's edition of Sunday Sofa Time, we're hanging out on a cruise ship and comparing it to a bunch of other cruise ships.
Just like the wind, just let it pass through, just let it pass you.
I'm Morgan from the very unofficial travel guides. I've been making travel videos now for over 15 years of popular and not so popular tourist destinations to give you a very honest, unofficial look at what it's like to be there. And my two books, Places Please and Getting Stitches on a Cruise Ship, are part travel guide and part autobiography, full of tips, tricks, and stories about traveling around the world. If you like to read and want to give me a little extra support, check them out on Amazon now. Elephant in the room, Morgan broke his wrist. This is not funny. I'm very frustrated at the moment. This is affecting my life and the way that I work in very negative ways. And I'm gonna make a whole separate video for channel members and Patreon members talking about exactly what happened, what's led up to today, and what's happening next week, and all that. For anybody who wants the whole story, sign in or sign up to your account and you're gonna get it. And now let's have some fun. So, as I'm sure you know, not too long ago I was on the newest, biggest cruise ship in the world, the Star of the Seas from Royal Caribbean. And I have cruised with several Oasis-class ships, including the Harmony, the Symphony, the Utopia. I was confused, but Utopia also does count as Oasis-class. And the Icon class, which is now the Icon of the Seas and the Star of the Seas, have a lot of design similarities to the Oasis class, but then there's also some things that are quite different. Some of these things are improvements, and some of them, as always, kind of make you think,
why did they do that?
So while on board, I took a big walk around the ship, spent a whole afternoon just kind of checking out where things are and talking about how it's different or similar to the Oasis class and other Royal Caribbean ships. And that's the video we're gonna watch today. Here we go.
Yeah, I got a situation. You can tell me if I'm right or wrong.
I'm up here at the very front of the ship on deck 15 now, and this area on the Oasis class of ships is usually the adults only sun and pool area. On some of the Oasis class, it's totally enclosed, and on some it has sort of like a half tent over the top of it. I really appreciate the way they've done this here on the Star class. It's totally enclosed. This panoramic view is unbelievable. Of course, yeah, the pool and the water features are missing, but to compensate, they have the Hideaway, the adults only area on the back of the ship, which is pretty cool and we'll be looking at later. There's a bar down here in the main seating area, and over to the other side there's also a coffee bar. And also included in this area are two restaurants, Booked, which is a specialty restaurant not included in the price of the cruise, and then one of my big insider tips for you, the Aquadome market. This is one of many sort of hidden food options on the ship. And I don't mean like hidden like they're trying to keep it secret, but if you're used to cruising with Royal Caribbean, then you'll know the Windjammer, Sorrento's, Promenade Cafe. And I wonder if there's a lot of people who are so stuck in that sort of scheme of traditional Royal Caribbean restaurants that they don't even think to look for these other options. The food in the Aquadome market is right up my alley. There's a lot of options and customizable options, and I can highly recommend it to you too. As I'm walking through here this morning, I realize it reminds me of the area on the back of the Celebrity Apex on that class of ship. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but it's just a nice sort of peaceful vibe. And I'm not sure where I stand on having it be like this as opposed to how it is on the Oasis class, but at the moment, with the current mood I'm in, I appreciate this better. Another major difference you'll see in the design on both of these ship classes is the Aqua Theater is also now here at the front of the ship in this Aquadome area. The things I like about this change are, I think it heightens the consistency of the ability to offer the show at all. On the Oasis class ships, I think the show gets canceled quite a bit due to weather conditions and ocean conditions, and I think that probably happens less on the Star class. I also think because it's indoors, it offers them more ability to add more technical elements to it, and because it is indoors, then they can also control the lighting situation and make it even more theatrical. Here's sort of a downside to the whole thing. I don't know exactly, but my gut tells me that this indoor venue has quite a bit less seating options than when it's outside. And when it's outside, there's a lot of other places you can watch it from. You don't have to be directly in the theater in one of the seats. Here, we got here at like 40 minutes early to watch the show last night, and we didn't get a seat. Of course, it is a preview cruise. There's a lot of people here on board who are trying to see everything. We only have 4 nights. But yeah, it was super crowded, and it filled up. Like, I mean, you had to be here probably an hour early last night to get a seat. I just came through these doors. Back that way is the front of the ship where the Aquadome is, and I'm facing towards the back of the ship. On the Oasis class of ships, the water slides would be like right above me here. Here on the Icon class, they're at the back of the ship, and there's a lot of them. We'll get there in a second.
There is a major difference in the pool designs of the Oasis class and the Icon class. Starting here on the Oasis class, all the pools are on the same deck. So for example, here on the Utopia, 2 of the main pools are across from Central Park on one level, and on the same level, there is 1 more pool as well as the children's splash area. On the Icon class, however, the pool deck stretches over several decks, and the layout is a little more complicated to understand.
I think it'll be easier to show you this if I go up 1 more deck. On this side over here, there is a small pool area, and one thing that makes this pool special is it's home to a swim-up bar called the Swim and Tonic. It's also where you'll find 4 of the 6 casitas that you can rent, and I made a whole separate video about the prices of these add-ons on board, like the casitas and the day beds and things like that. So if that interests you, or if you just want to find out how much people pay for these things, you can find that in my library. Over on the other side here, on this ship, there is 1 hot tub, and depending on which Oasis class ship you're on, this would be a whole pool area. There's kind of like 4 flat areas up here. I'm going to say like 1, on the other side of that 2, 3, 4. But here, you have the swim-up bar over here, a hot tub over here, and up here on this level, there is sort of a pool. What do you think? Does this count as a pool? It's definitely someplace you can get in the water and cool down. What is this considered? An adult splash tub? And if we go past this, there is a large pool with 2 hot tubs on this side, and this side is then a stage.
And then hidden under this sun deck is another one of these splash pool areas. Can you really call this a pool? It's not something you can technically swim in, and I think it's probably only about 2.5 feet deep.
And of course, under here, there's a lot of shade. And honestly, right now, shade is good. It is so hot. I've been outside for maybe 8 minutes now, and can you already see the sweat dripping down my face? One thing you have here on the Icon class that you don't have on the Oasis class, though, is another deck up here. This is over the 1 main pool area up here. It's an extra deck full of sun chairs. Once again, I think it's great that there are a lot of places to lay out in the sun. This will, of course, help avoid the situation of the people who get up at 6 a.m. to reserve a chair and then go back to bed. But in order to get from this area down to the pool, you can either do a swan dive over the balcony. I'm just kidding, don't do that. Or you'll have to burn your feet and go downstairs. Altogether, I really like this area. I like the vibe. I like the colors. Some people were saying it looks very childish, but I don't know. It seems harmonious in a fun, vibrant, tropical vacation theme. Colors don't bother me. I kind of like it. This whole area that I just showed you outdoor with the pools and the swim-up bar and the loungers and everything, this is called Chill Island. And if we go further to the back of the ship, that's called Thrill Island. Oh, I just spit. Excuse me. The area at the back of the ship is called Thrill Island. That's what we're going to check out now. And to get there, I have to walk through the smoking area. By the way, can I just sort of mention right now that even though it's a sea day, there's still so many open places here on the pool deck and sun deck. And it's probably because, as mentioned, it's so freaking hot. This area is so different than on the Oasis class of ships, and I'm going to tell you all the things that I notice. You let me know what you notice as well. Probably the most evident and colorful difference is the fact that all of this area is taken up by this amazing water park. On the Oasis class of ships, this area would be either sports court or mini golf and kids area, depending on which Oasis class ship you're on. Sometimes the sports court is on that side, sometimes it's on this side, sometimes the mini golf is back there, sometimes it's over there. But on the Oasis class, it's always all around here. And the water slides are way at the other end of the pool area. And speaking of water slides, we're not going to talk about this one. So compared to the Oasis class of ships, there are 3 things that you can see here that are missing. One of them is the Aqua Theater, which usually takes up that area down there. We're going to be talking about this Surfside area soon. The Aqua Theater has just been moved. You already know how I feel about that. And the zip line and the Ultimate Abyss slides, do not miss them at all. Altogether, I really appreciated this area of the ship for kids and adult thrill seekers. I mean, this doesn't feel like just a couple water slides. It really seems like a full water park. It's included in the price of the cruise, and I do have to say, some of the most popular slides did have quite a long waiting time. So my advice is, if you want to do all the slides, get there really early or go at like the latest possible time when everybody's already at dinner. I am now at the very back of the ship now, and people, I am trying to stay motivated, but it's not even 10 o'clock in the morning yet, and I'm guessing it's over 90 degrees. My clothes are sticking. This is the Hideaway area, which is the adults-only area, which on the Oasis class of ships is way up at the front in the area where the Aquadome is on the Icon class. Of course, this is an all-outdoor area now. There are 2 large hot tubs, and then this trademark cantilevered infinity pool that looks out over the aft of the ship and over the wake. It's really spectacular. Gets really crowded. Hashtag people soup. What do you think? Does this look like someplace you'd want to hang out? I probably wouldn't be getting in there, but hey, I'm sure the chemicals kill a lot of the bacteria, right? At certain times of the day, there is a DJ here playing lounge music, and I feel like compared to the vibe in the adults-only area on the Oasis class, which is more of a relaxed vibe, here it's definitely more of sort of a party vibe. By the way, if you watch my video about the prices of certain things here on board, the price for those beds is going to blow your mind. I am down here now inside the ship where it's air conditioned and in a space that is very recognizable for just about any Royal Caribbean ship built within, I'm going to say, like the last 20 years. It's called the Royal Promenade. Earlier this year, I cruised with 2 different Scandinavian ferries. They were actually the first ship designs to have an open space like this in the middle. Royal Caribbean kind of took it over using the same designer. And a lot of things about this space are very recognizable. There's a Sorrento's pizza, just like you have in all the other Royal Promenades. This is where guest relations is. This is where the main shopping areas are. But there are some major differences, things I will call upgrades and then just changes. One of them is there is a dedicated dueling pianos and karaoke bar. A lot of times on ships, they do have dueling pianos and karaoke, but these things are offered then in like a general all-purpose bar where sometimes it's dueling pianos, sometimes it's a comedy club, and sometimes it's, you know, other things. Here, there is just a comedy club, just the dueling pianos, and just karaoke. One main staple that you're going to notice is missing is the Promenade Cafe. On Oasis class ships and other royal ships with this Royal Promenade, there's always the Promenade Cafe. That's one place you can go to get a bite to eat and a coffee or something to drink, I think 24 hours a day. It's not missing, it's just sort of in a different place, and it's been renamed the Pearl Cafe now.
The Pearl Cafe? What is the Pearl?
Well, let me show you. You can actually see it from where I'm standing here.
It's this opening here. It's a large structure with sort of a moving light art fixture in the middle of it.
When you board the ship, this is the first thing you see, and it's so impressive. And you'll notice it's actually taking up the space of something else that you'll see on all the Oasis class ships that's missing here, basically taking up the space that this rising tide bar is usually taking. Rising tide bar it was a cool concept when it first came out. You board it down in the Royal Promenade, and then as you're having a drink, it rises up into Central Park. But it takes up a lot of space. I think it's a lot of technical things that have to be repaired. And honestly, it's kind of one of those things that it's kind of over. You know what I'm saying? And while the Pearl doesn't necessarily have any major function other than looking pretty, and I guess it does have some structural function, it's just a really impressive thing to look at, and it's a great place to take pictures. Across from the Pearl are also two things that I've only ever seen on one other ship before. The Norwegian Epic. Now this is an absolute can't miss highlight. The escalators. These escalators will take you down to the very large casino and also to the gangway. So this door's closed right now, but when it's open, then you go through there, and there's more escalators going down a little bit further. The casino on the Star of the Seas is a very large and spacious casino. Funnily enough, on this preview cruise, there were a lot of casino club members invited. So most of the time, it was completely crowded on our cruise, even though it's probably one of the biggest ship casinos I've ever seen. If for some reason you have an escalator phobia, or if the escalators are not working or you can't find them, you can also take the elevators down to deck 4 and enter through this entrance as well. Let me walk over to the Pearl right now, and I want to show you something else that's a change on this class of ship that I think is really great. Oh my gosh, what is going on?
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Holding a rehearsal for our parade.
Oh, how great.
Please feel welcome to watch our rehearsal. We'll be doing a little rehearsal here for our parade. Thank you.
That's what happens on these preview cruises. You get to experience things like this. Anyways, I'm going to go over here to show you something that is an addition that I think is very welcome. First of all, the Pearl Cafe is basically the replacement of the Promenade Cafe, just one level above the Royal Promenade, has all the same things, but includes a fantastic panorama view of the ocean. Just next to the Pearl Cafe, there is a stairway up into Central Park. And since we're in Central Park, I guess we can talk about this too. Central Park is one of the so-called neighborhoods here on board. All of the Oasis-style ships and Star and Icon, they all have this open space inside the ship. These are real plants. Oh, by the way, did you know there's a dog that lives on board the Star of the Seas too? I haven't seen the dog yet. So most things here in Central Park seem familiar, but there are some differences, not to the park itself, but what is around the park. And I think I'm going to try to find some place in the air conditioning to go and talk more about that.
Deck 14.
The one difference I want to talk about is something I've talked about every time I've been on this style of ship, and that is the balconies that face into this area as well as the Surfside area, which used to be called the Boardwalk, which we'll be talking about later in the video. On all the other ships that have a Central Park and a Boardwalk, aka Surfside, these inside-facing balconies offer you basically no privacy whatsoever. Everybody can see you on the balcony at all times, and while it is nice to have a little bit of outdoor space, I would much rather, if I'm gonna have a balcony, have it be facing the ocean. But here, most of these balconies are this infinite balcony design, which means when you have the window closed, then it's just a closed off cabin, but you can open the top part of this window and then it's like having a balcony. This is a design that I first experienced when we cruised on the Celebrity Apex, and I have to say I'm not really a fan, because although it does increase the size of the cabin altogether, when you open that big window, then the entire cabin gets warm and humid. So, you know, when you have a normal balcony, if somebody wants to go out on the balcony and hang out in the sun or the warmth or the fresh air, they go out, close the door, and the cabin remains the cabin and the balcony remains the balcony. But with this design, as soon as you make it into like a balcony, then the whole cabin becomes the balcony. And on days like this, where it's just so hot, then you just know that window is going to be closed all day long, even though you've paid extra money for a balcony. Only the top level of cabins down here have an actual open balcony, and I'm gonna say these are also sort of non-desirable cabins because they're directly under the pool deck, and you're probably gonna hear the action of the pool deck happening all day long, as well as people stomping around. Now in the final neighborhood we're going to explore here on board, called Surfside, formerly known as the Boardwalk. Two things you might notice right off the bat. It's very colorful and it's also very loud. Looking up to the top here, we can see some of the water slides. On other ships of similar design, this view would be blocked here by the Ultimate Abyss slides. There are balcony cabins and family suites on both sides. These are the suite style cabins, and above those are some standard, well, like Surfside facing balcony cabins. Like the Boardwalk, it also has a carousel. This carousel is very colorful and cute. And perhaps the biggest difference, like I mentioned before, is the fact that at the back, there is no Aqua Theater. Instead, you have a children's splash area.
Of course, if you are a family with small kids, this area is fantastic, but you just have to realize if you book any of these balcony cabins that have an indoor and partial ocean view at the back of this area, you are going to be bombarded with the noise of kids playing and splashing and loud music all day long. Honestly, I feel like these should be the least expensive balcony cabins on board. I don't know if they are, but I personally would rather end up in an ocean view cabin than one of these balcony cabins. How do you feel about this? Just like on almost all other big Royal Caribbean ships, the main theater is at the front of the ship. Here it's on deck 4 and 5. And by the way, Back to the Future was amazing.
Another difference I wanted to show you is almost all other ships that have an ice arena. The ice arena is like in this area on deck 3 and 4, I'm going to say. And on the Icon and Star, it's all the way in the back, sort of under where the water show usually is.
Yeah, honestly, it's almost like the ice arena is kind of hidden because it's in such a different place than you would expect it to be if you've cruised on other Royal Caribbean ships. You have to find the entrance to the Playmakers Bar, walk all the way through the bar, and then back in the corner, there's a stairway that goes down, and down there is the entrance to the ice arena. The ice and the arena here is round instead of square, which I think allows for a little bit more skating space for the artists. And this version of the ice show also had a stunt section and really added to the excitement of the show. By the way, in case you don't know, all of this entertainment is included in the price of the cruise. You can and should make a reservation in advance, but if you don't, you just have to be patient, wait in line, and hopefully you can get a seat and see all the shows anyways. Of course, there are so many more similarities and differences than I talked about in the video. I could have been super specific and went to each restaurant venue talking about what it is on the Star and what it is on the Utopia and what it is on the Symphony, but I didn't want to, so I didn't. But I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me on the ship and hanging out with me today on the red sofa on this Sunday, or whatever day it is you choose to watch this with me. My next appointment with a surgeon is Wednesday, and if everything goes okay, then I'm going to be going down to Munich to visit my good friend Kali, aka my bodyguard. That's a story in getting stitches on a cruise ship. And of course, it is Oktoberfest right now, so we will be going to the real Oktoberfest in Munich. If you follow me on Instagram and Facebook, there'll be daily posts about what's going on down there. And if I need some kind of emergency surgery or something like that, then that's all gonna be canceled. Fun, right? So keep in touch and we'll see what happens there. And otherwise, I have, I think, just one more video coming from the Star of the Seas, and that is going to be our whole day disembarking and all the exciting and interesting things we did in Florida before I got to the airport. Just sort of another hang out with me and see what this day of traveling was like. If that sounds interesting, make sure you're subscribed and check back soon. That would really make me happy. I'm Morgan from the Very Unofficial Travel Guides. Bye-bye.
So until next time, I'll leave alone just like that. I like to be slow, but